Hi everybody, welcome back to my kitchen. My name is Greta and I'm the dietitian at John Stoddard Cancer Center. So I have another great recipe here for you tonight, and this recipe started out as just the marinated salmon recipe, which I wanted to kind of transform and show you how we can make it into a salad. So it's going to be a delicious sort of sesame soy dressing that we're going to use for both marinating the salmon and for making our dressing. And a lot of people are not maybe as familiar with cooking fish, so it's an opportunity to see how we can make fish taste good. And marinade is the best way to do that. We're going to infuse lots of flavors into our fish. So we're going to start out by making the marinade. And if you're going to make this into a salad, I just recommend doubling up the marinade, and we're going to use that as our dressing. And we're going to use it on top of our salmon. So I've got a big bowl right here. And we're going to start with some olive oil. So I'm doubling my recipe, so I'm going to double up my oil. So I'm measuring out about a half a cup of extra virgin olive oil. And this makes about 4 servings. You can also, if you like, you can make all the parts to this and then make each salad individually if you're not serving 4 people. Just don't dress all the greens at one time. So then I'm going to jump over here. So I'm going to put my oil in. Okay. So then we've got some soy sauce, and I'm using a low sodium soy sauce. And again, since I'm doubling, I'm going to put 4 tablespoons of my soy sauce. 1, 3, which I suppose I could have just measured out a 1/4 cup, but that's okay. I got my spoon handy. Okay, so next we need a little vinegar. We need a little acidity. So we're going to use a rice wine vinegar. If you don't have rice wine vinegar, you absolutely could substitute a white wine vinegar, or you could substitute apple cider vinegar, or even like a champagne vinegar. So we're going to do the same amount for vinegar. Perfect. And then we want that delicious sesame flavor. So toasted sesame oil is delicious. It's just got this toasty, wonderful flavor to it. It's going to add so much flavor to our marinade. So I'm going to go ahead and put 2 tablespoons of this in. Today, when I was thinking about making the salad, I was thinking, gosh, this would make a good grain bowl too. So if you have leftover quinoa or rice from one of our other recipes, you absolutely could use that to kind of build a grain bowl out of this with salmon, which would be amazing. I also want to add, obviously, some salt. I'm going to add about a teaspoon of salt and some cracked black pepper. Just like that. Perfect. All right, so now we got a couple fresh things. Of course, ginger. And this is another way we're going to use up all that fresh ginger that we got. I'm going to let you see my cutting board here. So again, ginger, peel eating is optional. You can eat the peel. I'm not a ginger peel eater, so I take it off. I feel like it's easier to chop without it on there. So it's kind of up to you. And as you have figured out for me already, or will see for me, wherever it says ginger, I usually add double. I really like the flavor of ginger. If you don't have fresh ginger, you certainly can use dried ginger. That would be fine. It will be included in your bin, and you're going to get it and go, oh my gosh, Greta, this is the most ginger I've ever seen. And that's fine, because we are going to use it for other things. And you can also freeze it to use later. So I'm just using my peeler this time to peel the outside, peeling off to get down to that pretty fragrant part. There's lots of benefits to ginger too. It is a great natural remedy for nausea and upset stomach. It's very settling to the stomach. So that's why you see it sometimes in teas and lozenges, even lollipops, things like that, just to help soothe the stomach. I love fresh ginger, and you can even use some of your fresh ginger to flavor your water. If you want to add some natural flavoring to water, it's great with lemon. It's also great with other citrus. I just think it's wonderful, and it smells so good. Everything you make with it is just gonna smell and taste so delicious. The hardest part about ginger is that it's nubby and knobby. All right, that's about as close as I'm gonna get. Okay, clear my peelings away. Okay. Now, salmon is pretty readily available, I mean, pretty much most times of the year. Truly, the salmon season, the U.S. salmon season, doesn't really kick up in the retail market until like June, July. I buy frozen salmon through the Iowa Food Co-op from a company that's it's wild caught salmon out of Alaska, but the company is owned by Iowans. So I do buy it through the Iowa Food Co-op. It's called Popsy Salmon, and they actually had some salmon portions on sale. So I do have a pound of salmon, but it's broken down into 3 portions, which is fine. You can absolutely portion your salmon ahead. You can also use this on a whole piece of salmon too. The recipe is based on a pound of salmon, and if you don't feel like you want to cook that much, if you're cooking for one, you certainly can cut it in half. It's very easy to cut in half. I like leftovers. I personally like to use my leftovers to make things like grain bowls and salads for lunch the next day. So I would cook it all because it will all get eaten in a matter of 2 days. But you can certainly adjust it. I may have overdone it on the ginger, but that's okay because I really like ginger. And that's my timer. So I've got my oven preheated to 400 degrees. If you're cooking your salmon in smaller portions, it may only take 12 to 15 minutes for smaller portions. If you're cooking a whole fillet, it may take more like that, 15 to 20 minutes. It also depends on how thick it is and how well done you like your salmon to be. I tend to like mine on the medium rarer side, so I don't cook mine as long. If you are not a big fish person or just getting introduced to fish, I recommend going on the more medium well to well side. We just don't want to overly dry it out. Wild caught salmon tends to be lower in fat, so it doesn't have all that its own natural fat to keep it moist. So you definitely, if you're doing wild caught salmon, you don't want to overcook it. It will get very dry very quickly. All right, I've got a mountain of ginger. Look at my mountain of ginger. Like I said, I tend to overdo it in the ginger department, but that's okay. All right, so we're going to add our ginger. It's a marinade. We want to add lots of flavor. All right, some garlic. I'm going to get rid of my ginger peelings. They smell so good. I think if they made a perfume out of ginger, I'd probably wear it. Okay. We're going to do 4 cloves of garlic since we're doubling this. And since we, again, are using raw garlic in a dressing form, we really want to get our garlic well crushed or minced. So again, this is going to be a time that I'm going to use my garlic press because I really like it kind of press through so that in my dressing I don't get a big bite of garlic. You may like a big bite of garlic and you might be okay with that, and that's fine too. But I'm going to put mine through my press. You can also grate it, microplane. You can do it on your back of your cheese grater where the little holes are. I've even used, I have one of those choppers that's meant to be like for chopping up nuts. And if I'm doing a lot of garlic, sometimes I'll just put it through the chopper and chop it up in there, and it does a great job. So you can use whatever tool you prefer. Like I said, for this job, I'm going to send it through my press. That's my bowl. There's one. I do tend to take the stuff that's left in my press and chop it up and throw it in because it's all nice and mashed down now. So it's fine to do that. We've got 2. So you could substitute a different kind of fish with this as well. This would work beautifully with tuna. You could also do this with halibut, swordfish. Any nice kind of meatier fish would work really great because this is a pretty robust marinade. Mahi-mahi, that would be another one that it would work with. That one holds up pretty good. Okay. That was a huge clove of garlic. All right. All these things we put in our sauces and marinades, there's so many, health benefits to herbs and garlic and anything in the allium family, onions and garlic. And so always think of like all these things that we're adding to flavor our food. By using fresh things like this, we're getting so many additional benefits out of it, in addition to the great flavor. All right. That's all pretty well chopped up. Okay. So now I'm going to take my whisk right here. Ooh, my green onions are jumping. And I'm just going to whisk this. I'm going to put this down a little for you. Whisk this together so it's well combined. Perfect. I'm going to set that aside. And I'm going to come back to my salmon. I'm going to move my cutting board because I want to use that for other fresh things. Okay, I've got a clean cutting board. I want to do a separate cutting board for my salmon than what I do my vegetables on. I've got a Ziploc bag. This is kind of my trick when I marinate things. That way you can kind of move the fish around inside the bag with the marinade. So it's easy to get everything really well coated. So like I said, I'm using 3 portions of salmon. You hear my dog approach because he knew I was opening these packs of salmon. It's amazing how they know. All right, here's one. So this, I do have the skin on it. I do like to leave the skin on to cook it. It does add a lot of flavor, and when it's done cooking, that skin will just peel right off. All right, here's my second portion. Now, salmon does come, if you buy a whole fillet, it can have pin bones. There are these little fine bones, and if you use this product actually does not have pin bones. They pull the pin bones. If you go to a good fish counter and ask them to please remove the pin bones, they usually will do that. I know I buy fish a lot of times at Whole Foods, and those folks at the fish counter are fantastic, and they're really good about removing the pin bones for you. So I have to wash my hands. You get to come with me to my sink. Because hand washing, I think, is probably one of the most important things that we do in our kitchen when we're cooking. especially when we're working with any kind of meat or fish and we're going back and forth between raw products and our cooked products. So good hand washing is really important. Okay. Okay. Back over to our counter. Okay, so my marinade. Here it is. Giving it one more good stir to make sure everything is well combined. I'm going to pour about half of this over my salmon. And then what you have to do, you have to take a spoon and get into some of the solid bits because they tend to hang out at the bottom, which is all the garlic and ginger, because we want to make sure some of that's on there too. All right, so that's about half. Seal up your Ziploc bag. Now you can do this in a nice flat like Pyrex dish or baking dish too. You just might have to flip it. So I just move my marinade around the fish. Then I like to set this in the fridge at least 30 minutes, even a couple hours is fine, just so that it marinates and gets all that wonderful flavor. And then we'll come back and I'll show you what our next step is. So while our salmon has been marinating, I thought we'd get some of our fresh ingredients ready for our salad. So the recipe does call for green onions, and if you notice, I did not put them in the marinade because I am going to make a salad, and I would rather have them on top of my salad than put them into the marinade. And there's plenty of other flavors in there, so I didn't think we needed to put them in there. There is also, on the original recipe, it called for brown sugar in the marinade. I've made the recipe quite a few times. I've made it both ways. Honestly, I never thought that it needed it. I understand the reason why. You know, it's probably in the original recipe to help sort of to kind of caramelize on the fish. And you can absolutely add it, but I didn't this time. I always feel like the soy sauce really caramelizes very well. So I'm just trimming up about 4 green onions, and that would be for 4 salads. But if you are going to make only individual ones, you might want to just slice 1. If you decided to do this as a grain bowl, I still would put the sliced green onion on because I think it works really well with the salmon. I'm just kind of cutting them on the bias because I think that's pretty. And I am cutting up the greens and the whites because they're both delicious and they both offer lots of flavor. So if you want more kind of the green onion flavor in your salmon marinade, you absolutely can take some and add them in. That's totally fine too. I really like the raw onion on my salad itself. Just like that. All right. Next, orange. So this also adds some nice bright flavor. It also adds some sweetness to this. It kind of counteracts for the rice wine vinegar and soy sauce, and you have the orange juice. So I'm going to segment my orange. So I'm just going to do one since I'm just going to do one salad right now. But what I do is just take the ends off so that my orange sits nice and flat. I'll put this down so you can see. So I'm then going to just run my knife, and you can do this with a smaller knife. It doesn't have to be a big knife like mine. And I'm just taking the outside part, the peel, plus a little bit so that you really just see the juicy part. So all the pith and peel is getting cut away. Okay. All right, just like that. Perfect. All right, so now when you take that all away, you can actually see all of the segments of the orange. So all you have to do then is just sort of run your knife down the segment and cut away from yourself, and your segment pops right out. just like that. And then we have these perfect little orange segments to put on top of our salad. So I'm going to keep working on my salad or my orange segments, and I'll be right back. All right, welcome back. So my salmon is done marinating, so you can see it. Looks beautiful. I also put a little bit of the extra marinade on it. I just have it on a sheet tray here. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in a 400-degree oven. It's going to take somewhere between 15 to 20 minutes. And when it comes out, we are ready to build our salad. Okay, so our salmon's out of the oven and it looks amazing. It's over there and it's ready to go. So we are going to go ahead and build our salad now. So I have a nice big bowl here. It's about 2 cups of greens. I'm going to show you how to make one portion of this salad. To that, I'm going to add, I've got some nice shredded carrot that I just peeled and shredded. I'm going to throw some of that in. Adds another layer of kind of sweetness and color. Remember those green onions that we chopped? We're going to add some green onions. I love green onions. All right. Then we're going to go ahead into our dressing and give it a stir. I recommend scooping from the bottom so you get all those nice bits. And we just do a couple nice tablespoons of that dressing. Give it a nice toss around. Ooh! Or toss it right out of the bowl. All right. Everything is nice and coated. I've got a plate right here. I'm going to show you that. Got our thing out on our plate now. Okay. Then I'm going to add a few of those segmented oranges. I just like to kind of scatter them around because I think they're pretty. And I always kind of put a little bit of the orange juice right on the top. And then I'm going to grab a little portion of our salmon. Taking the skin right off. And we set that right on top. So, there we are. Perfect sesame Asian salad for dinner, for lunch, or make it into a grain bowl. So, thank you for joining me again and enjoy.